they are going to risk a lot of money without really understanding a good blueprint, because
it takes discipline.
I don't think that a lot of people are in a position to invest, and I don't give a shit what other people say online.
Do you really want to put the time in?
Yeah.
Do you really want to roll up your sleeves and do this?
Your back's against the wall and you bit off more than you can chew. You're way out over your skis, and all of a sudden you're... What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Moore, and we're back with Whiskey Wednesday with producer Jake Sheehy.
Hello.
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
Good, man. We have a good weekend. We had our boardroom HQ coming in Friday.
It was amazing.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It's so fun to have everybody coming in and just hanging out. We do it once a month, and so it's a lot of fun to see some of our members. We have our official sponsor of Whiskey Wednesday with Billy and Amanda brought us a bottle of Swear Jar whiskey. It says, tastes so good, we dare you not to swear. And on the back, you say what dollar amount, so that every time you swear, you put money in a jar so you buy your next bottle. So our official sponsor, Billy and Amanda from Las Vegas, brought it all the way up from Vegas for us. And,
really sweet of them, man. They were nice people. Nice meeting them.
It was awesome. Yeah. So thank you for the Swear Jar whiskey, where you are the official sponsor of Whiskey Wednesday.
That's nice.
It's awesome.
It was nice meeting a lot of people, for the Boardroom HQ workshops. It's nice. I took a lot away from it. From Steve and Josh. I thought they did amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. We went over all things self-management on Friday. And so every Boardroom HQ, it's fun because we go over different topics. And so we have a boardroom that can host 15 people. We bring them in, we hang out, we workshop all day long. Then this Friday, we went up to my house and hung out with the cows and the...
It was a fun time.
Sat up there and had some drinks and just enjoyed each other's company. So it was fun.
Yeah. I think the something that really stuck with me that I guess it was Steve saying, but I mean, of course, Josh jumped in a lot, was just the amount of guest communication and the amount of thought process that goes into when you send the messages, which I thought was really interesting. You don't just, we're not going to give away tips or tricks right now. You got to come to the workshop, but they were just talking about when you would send the messages, how many, and at certain times. And I was like, wow, this is a really thought out plan. If you want to operate in the top, you got to take these things into consideration. I thought it was really interesting what they brought to the table. It was really nice listening to them.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's kind of cool to hear that, because coming, you're around us all day long, but then you also are going to learn in this space and being able to hear from them. And there's a method to the madness, right?
Yeah.
We put all this stuff together, and how we communicate, when we communicate, why we communicate, just lots of different reasons of. And then logistically, how you pull it all off, what systems do you use and everything else. So it's really fun to be able to get together, roll up our sleeves, workshop for a day, then hang out with and enjoy each other's company the rest of the night. Yeah,
it was really interesting. But okay, today's episode.
Okay,
the name of it: Why You Should Not Invest Right Now. Ooh, bring in the heat.
So we're going. Shouldn't. All right, what do we got? What do we got here?
We're going over why we only work with people with a certain amount of money, investing too early. It's an income problem, not an investing problem. Is this angle too rude? Is it what age should you be? Just all kinds of things. Why we only run down one road, and then we're going to end it with how to get your book of business, your unfair share, and retain those customers. Okay, but awesome. Starting off.
I like that topic. I like talking about it. I think it's a necessary conversation to have. A lot of people, in my opinion, are thinking about investing when they're not ready to invest. So I think that's the road you want to run down. You've probably heard me talk about that a time or two around the office, right?
Yeah, especially, I feel like I've heard a lot of younger people, and especially on social media, everybody wants the side hustle. Yeah. Everybody wants to make the passive income. No one's satisfied with their 9 to 5 brings or whatever. No one's really happy with where they're at. So everyone's looking to do this, but why do we only work with these certain amount of people, or people with this certain amount of money? Why do we target these people?
Well, one, because of what we do. So first, let me start off with side hustle and trying to better yourself and doing other things. I'm a huge believer in it. I'm a huge proponent of that. However, investing is not a side hustle. Investing is different. A side hustle is trying to go create more income, make more money, trying to figure out what you can do to go out and create multiple streams of income when it comes to actively working, right? It's called a hustle for a reason. You're out there hustling for more money. Investing is not a hustle. And so what we do is we invest in assets. I don't teach the side hustle part of Airbnb and short-term rentals. We run down one very specific road, and that is we're going to go buy properties. Well, you shouldn't be buying properties unless you have the ability to buy properties. I'm not a believer of people putting their backs against the wall, betting everything on black and saying, hey, listen, I think that this investment is going to solve all my problems. That's not what I believe. And so when I say, hey, I only work with somebody making a minimum of $250,000 or more, that's because of what we teach and what we do. Right. And I am not the person that is willing to take somebody's money for coaching and sell them a dream of something when they're not in a position to invest. Right. I talk to people all the time, and they don't have investing problems. They have income problems, right? They're not in a position to put money into an investment. Investment by its very nature is something that creates passive income. Right. And so you have to put money into something to get money from that money, right? You're putting your money to work for you. A side hustle is different. And I think that what gets confusing online and in social media and everything else is, hey, you can go out and do this, and this real estate Airbnb property is going to solve all your problems. Well, guess what? It's really expensive to put down payments down, furnish these properties, get them operating at the top of the market before you get a return on that investment. And it is not a side hustle. A side hustle, by its very nature, which I'm a big believer in. It's not that I don't think people should do side hustles. I 100% think people should do side hustles. You got to figure out, because like you said, you might be in a job that you're hitting a ceiling, or you've got a certain amount of income, and you've got to figure out how to get more income. And that's where I think most people need to start. So first, we have to figure out, there's 3 buckets, in my opinion, of kind of wealth building and like just money making in general, right? Okay. One is we've got income, right? Most people have income problems. They're not making enough money. And then the second skill set is savings, right? And those two go hand in hand. The entire time you're making money, you've got to be able to live on less than you make, right? Spend less than you make and save that extra. And you get used to saving and saving and saving. And I'm a big, like, people would think because of what we do that I'm not a huge fan of Dave Ramsey. I'm a huge fan of Dave Ramsey. And he talks to people all the time about, listen, live below your means, save the extra income that you're making. And then when there's going to be a point in time where you're going to take that extra money after you've built up a savings account, after you've got a certain amount of months worth of living expenses, then you're going to say, hey, listen, I'm saving really well, but I'm also working on my income, generating more money, maybe making more money from my job, maybe starting a couple side hustles, so that then I'm going to have a pile of cash that I can go put into investments. And that is what we're talking about. And there's an evolution or a position you need to be in to do that. I'm not a big believer of the people who are like, just get into the game with no money down, and you can do it with other people's money and this and that and the other. That's not, I'm not a big believer in that. Right. And I think that you're trying to build your own skill set, and most people have income problems. Like when somebody comes to me and is like, I've got, $20,000 or $30,000 saved up, and I want to put it into a short-term rental, and I want to start, or I'm tired of my 9 to 5. I need to create something else that I can quit my job. And we look at it, and we look at their situation, and they've got, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 might seem like a lot of money. And they're like, hey, I saved this money up. A lot of times that's not enough to get in the game. And so the point of it is, even because there's people we talk to that make $500,000 a year. They qualify from our income standpoint, but they don't know how to save. And we say, hey, listen, you actually don't have an income problem. You have a savings problem. You're making $500,000 a year, and you got 20 grand to your name. That's a savings problem. That's a living, above our means, and not being able to save, and not being able to put ourselves in a position to invest. And so, I just think that right now, today, that people are, there's so many things coming at us, and there's so many things that we have opportunities to do, which we do, which you should. But it starts with, make as much money as possible, save that money so you have all your savings account built up to where you've got 6 to 12 months of living expenses, and then start to take some of those risks because investing is risky. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
As much as you mitigate the risk, there's still a calculated risk when it comes to investing. Nothing is perfect. And so you need to be able to take that disposable income that you don't need to live off. It's not going to put your back against the wall, and it is going to take some money. And then all of a sudden, it can be a really fun game to play as well. Yeah. And so we're kind of on the last tail end of working with people that want to get really good at one asset class, right?
Yeah. No, it's an interesting point because as you're talking, I'm thinking about what it takes to get to the point where you have that amount of money saved up, right? It takes discipline.
Yes.
Say you're making a lot of money, but you live above your means, you only have $20,000 saved away. We want to work with the people that have, you got to the point where you make enough money, but then you're also disciplined enough to put some away. You know what it's like to have that mentality of preparing for something else. If you just want to do the shortcut way, it seems like, where you just want to hop in this no money down, you want to do these other roads to go down. You didn't build up, it seems like, at least someone sitting here, it seems like you didn't build up the criteria of the mindset and being able to structure yourself so that when you do step into this asset class, you're weathered a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what it takes to get there. So I think that's interesting. But what about if someone's like, that's a little too rude, man? It's a little mean, Well,
yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'll say it nicer, but I'm saying the same thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not meant to be rude at all. It's not meant to be. It's meant to be encouraging that there are steps to take.
Right.
And there are steps that you're going to take with, the last thing I want to see people do, because I've done it myself, is you swing for the fences and your back's against the wall and you bit off more than you can chew. You're way out over your skis. And all of a sudden that's not a fun game to be playing, right?
No.
And so, I think that there's a lot of people that put themselves in those positions right now. And it's and I think it's unfortunate. I think it's really it's what we read online. Everybody wants the easy button. Everybody wants the fast road. We do a 5 years to freedom, and I feel like that's a really accelerated path to be able to take some of that disposable income and build something worth having. Most people look at 5 years like it's an eternity. They're like, I'm not willing to put something in 5 years. If that scares you, man, I have news for you. This is, you're literally the person that might as well just take what you're doing and speculate and gamble and take it on, put your money on black in Vegas and see what happens. And what I'm looking at doing is trying to say, hey, listen, we're going to take a slower path by quality assets, quality areas, very much understand one specific asset class, really, really accelerate your progress in that. But I'm sorry if you're not in a position to do it. And I'm sorry if you feel like it's rude that I say that, because now it's like I say, I don't teach side hustles. I love side hustles. I love people that are willing to go build up more income, learn how to save, do all those different things. Like you said, build the skill sets of discipline so that you're in a position to invest. But I am not the guy that's going to say that anybody and everybody should be investing. I don't think that a lot of people are in a position to invest, and I don't give a shit what other people say online. And I can disagree with it. And I'm going to take a much more conservative approach. I'm 48 years old now. I've lost everything twice. And so this comes from experience of knowing what not to do. And so I'm not saying it and preaching because I have never been way over my skis and put myself and my back against the wall and swung for the fences. I've lost it all twice and had to build it back up. And it's painful and it sucks and it's not fun. And the lessons learned are I was trying to do things when I wasn't in the right position to do those things. And most of them were investments that were way too big for me at the time.
Okay. So do you think people swing for the fences a lot more when they're too young? Where you're investing too early, as in your age or the amount of money when you're investing too early?
A little of both. So one, age is the time when you're young. That is actually probably the time to swing for the fence, right? Because if you lose it all, you got time. You got time to make it back, right? Time's on your side, and ultimately you're like, okay, I'm gonna take a few more risks when I'm younger, right? The issue when somebody has the money and they're older, the risks they typically take is not getting educated on the steps necessary to actually execute on what they're trying to do. That's the biggest mistake I see. So young people, they're like, hey, just point me in the direction. It's like, shoot, fire, aim, right? Type of a mentality. I appreciate that. I love that. I love the action takers and the willingness to go do something. When you're young, if you mess up and you miss the target, you do have time to recover.
Right.
The older generation and the older people, they think they know, they've got all the experience, and I bought 3 houses, so I understand this asset class, or I saw somebody online and I understand how to do short-term rentals, or I understand how to do multifamily, or I understand how to do commercial properties, or whatever it is. They are going to risk a lot of money without really understanding a good blueprint, because at the time it comes to invest, it's mitigating that risk as much as possible. And so the risk we see, and the people we talk to all the time, is they call us, when they're drowning, and they say, hey, can you please come save me?
Yeah.
And now I need to learn how to do this. And many times it's too late. And so it's very, very important to be diligent about the process. Find somebody that has done it before. I'm a huge believer in coaching, obviously.
Right.
I spend a small fortune on coaches every single year. And I mean, some of them that I hire, and it's multiple 6 figures every single year on coaches.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in trying to mitigate my risk, right? Because I have a lot to lose, and I've already lost it twice. I don't want to make the same mistake. So I hire people that are a few steps ahead of me and are doing what I want to do. That's the other thing. There's a lot of people that look really good online. There's AI tools that make everybody look like a genius. There's books out there written by AI that sound like somebody's, been doing it for 25 years. And so you got to go a few layers, deeper. And the great part about the younger generation, you guys are used to like the facade of everything out there. You guys you guys actually do a lot of due diligence. You guys recognize that there's a lot of people that just talk a big game, right? And so it's very interesting when I talk to your age group of saying like they're willing to take the risk, but they also grew up with this information overload, and they're willing to dive in and say, I can sniff that guy out. I can kind of weed out that this is all AI generated and everything else. My generation and above, we didn't grow up with that. Right. And so our filters aren't nearly as attuned to that as your guys's. Right. And so we fall prey to a lot of the, so many gurus and experts out there that have the easy button that we're like, okay, sweet. Let me just plug into that. And so I think the risk becomes being able to do some due diligence on finding the right path forward. Yeah.
Oh man, that's beautiful. Oh, love it. I love it. Okay. How now? So your age group, right? They have the money. They have the age, they've been weathered a little bit, but how much experience do they even need to get into an asset class like this? Right? I mean,
well, one, right now, you need, whenever you're making an investment, you need, you invest time, money, knowledge, right? And so most of the time, when you have money, buys you time. So you don't need nearly as much time as if you have money, because you can buy the knowledge as well. Right. And so you don't really need a lot of experience, because nowadays there's so many people and there's so much information. It's like I said, doing the due diligence of figuring out the path that works. And there might be multiple paths that work. The hard thing is trying to say, well, I'm going to take this from this path, this from this path, this from this path. And then you say, it didn't work. You're like, well, why didn't it work? I listened to all 3 of the top experts out there. Well, all 3 of them would be very successful if you just ran down their road, right? For example, the road that we run down, it might work for you. The road that somebody else might run down is going to be a different road that will work if you do it, but you can't take pieces of all of them and expect it to work. Right. And so ultimately, the experience is not really necessary to go do it by yourself anymore, because there's so much information to help you avoid those mistakes, so that you don't have to take 25 years like I did learning this asset class. You don't have to lose everything twice in that 25 years to do it. And you can mitigate those risks. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It means that there's people that have already made the same mistakes. You can avoid those mistakes, but also when you run into challenges, they know how to deal with those challenges, right? And so there's some mentors that I hire, and we talk to them and we say, I hire them and pay them as much as I do, as almost just as an insurance policy. I don't get on their coaching calls. I don't schedule on their appointments. I don't do any of that, but I know they've been through something that is major that I'm willing to pay for. If I have to go through that, I can call them up and tap into that. Right. And so that they can help us, if I have to fight a certain dragon, I know they've fought this dragon. I'm thinking of one coach in particular that I'm saying, okay, I'm hiring them and paying for a lot of money for them to be able to just be an insurance policy for me to not have to gain that knowledge on my own. Right. If I go through that.
Okay. So it's a little bit, in my head, at least I'm thinking of it, it's a little ego driven, a little selfish if you're going to try and cherry pick from each coach. In a way, if you're going to be like, I'm going to be able to do this by myself, I'm just going to learn a little bit here and there, instead of just running down a certain road that you think, okay, I've weathered this storm, I have the age, and now I'm just going to be able to do it if I just learn a little bit from here and there. I don't think that's the right way to go. I mean, every single thing you get has a tutorial or instructions, no matter if it's a table or some new thing on the computer, everything has instructions. Right. So the idea that you're just going to come in here by yourself, YouTube University it, and you're going to be in the top 1%, you're going to make your unfair share business, you're going to do all these things. What are you talking about? That's not really how this game.
It's not. It's hard because it's so overwhelming. Like you can go. Yeah. I mean, Jake, you've seen inside of our stuff, inside of our coaching program. There's hundreds and probably thousands of hours worth of trainings. It's all been loaded into ChatGPT and everything else. You can find everything we do. So you could have all of this information at your fingertips. You can go take my stuff and everybody else's stuff and combine it all and try to take the best of the best.
Right.
And really get this, like all this information. It becomes overloaded and you haven't done it before, right? The detail is in the execution of the plan. The detail is in executing that blueprint and understanding exactly how to build the house from a specific blueprint. If you've never built a house, you're going to need a contractor helping you. Right. And so it becomes saying, hey, listen, the information is actually there. The DIY person is going to spend so much extra time. And here's the thing that you find, we don't see a lot of DIY with our group because poor people spend their money on stuff. Right. They buy stuff. Rich people spend their money to save time. They buy time because they know it's so finite. And so the more money you make, the more successful you are, the more you realize that I am willing to spend a decent amount of money to have this summarized for me, somebody put their arm around my shoulder and run down a road with me, right? Because it saves me a ton of time. Right. That's really what I'm buying. Right?
That's a great way to put it right there. I love that. All right, so let's narrow it down. What are we coaching, man? What's our lane? What's our road?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like we always say, we only run down one road, right? We take single family homes in really good destination markets, vacation markets, college towns, wherever they are, wherever has good profit drivers, and we turn them in to the top 1% of the short-term rental markets in that area by owning properties. That's it. That's all we do. We're really, really good at that. Yeah. And people always talk crap on investing in single family homes, whatever else. Hey, it's worked for us. Listen, you want to run down a different road, run down a different road. Right. We're really, really good. In fact, we're the best, in my opinion, at taking owners and building portfolios of quality assets, quality areas, single family home assets, not boutique hotels, not commercial properties, not multifamily properties. I'm really, really good at finding and building quality asset portfolios in single family short-term rental markets and operating and getting their unfair share of business. That's what we do. And we only work with owners, right?
Yeah, I'm sold.
Okay,
I'm sold, dude. I'm in.
Okay, that's all we need. That's all I had to do. There's my sales pitch. There you go.
I love it. All right, so that's great. The last bullet point here is mindset, the mentality of this. I mean, I guess maybe the last thing we can kind of touch on here is the leap of faith. You know, you kind of touched on it with saving your time here, but at the end of the day, it is a leap of faith,
right?
Wanting to do it. Yeah. You know, so I believe that you come along here and you're going to have that arm around your shoulder to help you take that leap and allow you to, once you start seeing the results too, like when we're on our school platform and people start posting, man, people get so excited, man. Right. They see the things start happening. They go, okay, I went down the right road. This is working. And man, it's a beautiful thing. Take the leap of faith. I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah. And when it comes to the mindset, know that there is no perfect asset class. Like I love short-term rentals. I love investing in short-term rentals. It doesn't mean it's the end all be all for everybody. And so when you are really, like I always tell people, try to figure out what the best passive income vehicle is going to be when you're in a position to buy passive income vehicles. Understand that if you're a co-host or you're an arbitrage expert or something like that, you're not an investor. You are creating a side hustle managing properties, right? So in our space. But understand whether you actually are investing in properties. And if you are, and you're going to invest in a passive income vehicle, whether it's short-term rentals, multifamily, commercial properties, single-family, long-term rentals, whatever they are, go and do some due diligence on whether that's the right asset class for you, right? Yeah. Because they all have pros and cons. And so you have to say, does this work for me? Is this the portfolio that I want to own long-term? Because these are long-term assets. They're short-term rentals, but they're long-term investments. And so I always tell people on the front end, go do that and have the mindset of willing to roll up your sleeves. Like we're all about personal responsibility, self-reliance, extreme ownership of saying, hey, listen, whether it goes good or bad, it's my fault, right? If I'm in a position that it's not working, I got to look in the mirror and say, what did I do? And what decisions did I make yesterday and the day before that led me to today's reality, right? And so ultimately, understand it's going to be hard. Understand there's going to be bumps in the road. Understand you're running down something. And here's the problem with people that we talk to and that are in a position to buy passive income assets and vehicles is they're comfortable, right? You just said you've got a lot of income. You understand that you got a bunch of savings. And now we don't want to screw it up. And so it's so much easier to move forward when your back's against the wall, when you've lost everything, when you're down and out and you're like, man, I have nowhere to go but up. And it's so much easier to get up and say, hey, listen, I am going to take responsibility for this. I am going to look in the mirror and be, self-reliant, and I'm going to build something worth having when your back's against the wall and you've lost everything. That's not the time where you're investing. That's when you're building back up your income and, whatever your side hustle is going to be or your main hustle, right? You're building it back up. On the flip side of that coin, way down the line, after you've already got some money and saved it up and everything else, you're pretty comfortable. And it's really, really hard. Comfort is the killer of all growth, right? Yeah. And you're like, hey, listen, I don't have to do this today. If you're telling me this is going to be a long road, you're telling me it's going to be hard. You're going to tell me it's going to be this, uphill
hours of listening to the curriculum, and oh man.
So the mindset is, hey, listen, if you want more today or tomorrow than you have today, and you're willing to take that and say, hey, listen, I'm going to push through that uncomfortableness instead of sitting on the couch and watching Netflix or going, golfing with your buddies or whatever it is. You're going to take some time and you're going to figure this out, and you can compress your time and you can find a roadmap that works for you. But at the end of the day, you still have to put in the work. You still have to do it.
Kind of an interesting, I'm going to kind of flip it here just a little bit. We started out with how the younger generation can kind of weed out the bad coaches, right?
Right.
You can kind of go, it's AI. Yeah. They don't really know, right? How do we weed out? Someone comes to us. We want to join Vodyssey. We love this asset class, man. I want to be here.
Yeah.
I have the money. How do we weed them out and go, okay, do you really want to put the time in? Yeah. Do you really want to roll up your sleeves and do this? How do we weed out those people? How do we kind of find them?
Well, one, it's like what we do personally is we have consultations and strategy calls, and they're true strategy calls. They're not, they ultimately, that's how people join us, but it's not a sales call. We're not trying to get it. We have a lot of people that we tell, no, you're not in a good position to do this. And so what we're trying to do is figure out where they're at right now, where they want to go. And then we figure out three things. How much time do they have? How much money do they have? How much knowledge do they have? And then what are they willing to do to bridge the gap to get from where they're at, where they want to go? Sometimes they've got all the necessary resources with money and time, and they're willing to invest in learning and being able to run down a road. Other times they're missing one of those three things, and you're saying, hey, listen, you're just not quite there, and or that where they want to go, they might say, hey, I've got $100,000. I want to do this. And their expectation is that they're going to be making $1 million a year in 2 years off of the $100,000. That doesn't happen. That's not a, that's a, what is that? A 10x return on your money.
It's a hyperbole for me, man. That's a lot.
1,000% return on your investment. I mean, it doesn't, and so we might say, hey, their expectations are very unrealistic for this asset class.
Right.
And so we'll look and see where they're at, where they want to go. How do we bridge that gap? And do they have the necessary resources when it comes to time, money, knowledge to do it?
Are there any certain personality traits you look out for? I'm just curious about that part. Like when you're talking to someone, is it the body language? Is it the verbiage they use? Anything you can kind of pick apart and go like, okay, this guy or this woman, this family, whatever, they got something. They're talking like because I say this because if you say no to somebody, you say, I don't think you're ready. Some people are going to pitch a fit, man. They're not happy. How could you say that? Bad review time, right? Yeah. Some people are going to go, no, man, I am ready. I'm ready to put the work in, and they're going to go after it, right? So how can you?
Yeah, we want to see if they can handle. No, right? Can you handle rejection? Are you willing to check your ego at the door? A lot of the people, especially in our world, we're working with, type A personalities. They've, run businesses, own businesses. They're high income earners, many physicians and, in the medical field. and they're used to being the king of their universe,
right,
or the queen of their universe, and it's saying, hey, listen, are you willing to check your ego at the door and learn something new as well? Are they open to growth? Are they willing to go through some hard times to get to the better days ahead, right? And so, and it's through those conversations, just like you guys, when you have a conversation with somebody, it truly is a conversation, and you're going back and forth, you get a really good feel. But it's not one specific personality type that is better or worse than the other. It's saying, do they have the resources, and do they have the mindset of being able to put in the work and make something happen?
I love it. All right, well, that kind of wraps that up. That wraps up right there. But hold on.
Good job on the notes, man.
We have this last bullet. Do you want to touch on this one? How to get your unfair share? Do you want to touch on that, or should we come and sneak peek it for next episode?
Let's sneak peek it. Let's do a marketing. Let's do a marketing one for next week.
Next week? Yeah. Okay.
So let's dive into how to get some of our unfair share business. We've been doing some really great workshops on that, really on the marketing side, and being able to stand out and figure out how to build our own book of business, direct bookings, all that stuff. So let's do that next week.
Okay. I love it. Yeah, that's it. 30 minutes.
Awesome. Well, awesome, guys. Well, listen, we always appreciate you spending time with us, and I hope you enjoy these episodes. If you do have questions or topics you want us to talk about, send them in to support@vodyssey.com. We'll make sure we get them on the agenda, and Jake is doing a great job of making sure that we've got those topics and bullet points so that we cover the things that you guys want to cover. And so, as always, we know your time is valuable. If you know somebody else that would like to be a part of this show, share the show. Those things really help us. If you have more than 30 seconds, like it or review it on whatever platform you're watching or listening on. And the final, most important thing is pick that one thing you can do today to start building that
life. You don't want to take a vacation. Dude, I was going to fill in the blank.
That's the first time I messed that up. Yeah, guys, go pick the one thing you can do today, start building a life you don't want to take a vacation from. Cheers, my friends. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Vacation Rental Revolution podcast. Share this with other people you think need to hear about it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Hey Grace, is there a website? Yes! For more amazing content and expert advice, visit Vodyssey.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.